And of course, we have our final movie, which was Nico's pick. What did you choose this week?
Dude, I picked Speak No Evil, the original 2022 version that's still in English. They updated it for 2024 version that's also in English. What the fuck is up with that, guys? This is very strange. Anyway, Speak No Evil. It's a film about a couple, Bjorn and Louise, I believe are their names, who meet a couple who invites them to visit them, and they're with their daughter to stay at their house for a weekend. Shockingly and disappointingly, this couple are not swingers, but so it's just some freaks who keep pushing Bjorn and Louise's buttons until they push the ultimate button of all, death.
Fun fact, the Dutch couple are married in real life.
That's fun.
Let's go. I hate this movie. This movie's stupid.
What?
I didn't rate it low. Dude, this is a prime example of this movie should have ended so many times. I typed in the Discord, I thought this movie was over, and I looked at the timestamp, and we were at 41 minutes, and I had an idea of how the movie was going to go up until that point, and then the little girl's like, I left my stuffed animal at the house. I'm like, these parents are fucked. They're dead now because this little girl left her stuffed animal.
That'd be funny if the ending was just them driving away.
I didn't think that was gonna happen. I did have the same thought though.
You thought they were gonna get like hunted down or something? I
thought so, but I also thought that's why they would have lived. You know, they were like heading out. So then the murder couple were like the ones backpedaling. No, I mean, man, maybe me talking about this out loud will actually lower the ranking for me.
How about me break it down for you for a second, Dylan? How about
Go
me
for
bust
it,
a fucking move on you? All
yeah,
right,
bust it down, Jackson.
This movie's Funny Games, just with a different coat of paint on it. Basically,
yes.
It has the same issues as Funny Games, and it ends in a very similar way as Funny Games, in the sense of there is a lot of build-up. It's going for something that the audience won't like, potentially, in the sense of, like, with Funny Games, it was some generic horror slasher movie, and that shit's boring because it's some generic horror slasher movie. And then the ending and some other scenes within the movie, you know, like you could akin the, I don't fucking know. Like the guy looking at the fucking camera when she finds her dead dog in Funny Games to the fucking kid opening his mouth and not having a tongue or something. You know, there's like minor things that would allude you to what's going on in the bigger plot, but you really only understand what's going on in the movie at the very end. And a lot of the movie is just really frustrating to watch because of that. Like with Funny Games, you're bored out of your fucking skull because a lot of it's just kind of like a generic horror movie. There's a lot of like wasted time doing nothing. And then in this movie, it's just really frustrating because the couple's constantly doing things, bad choices they're making. You know, they're just constantly, I guess, just, I don't know, being part of, like, the fucking plan. They're just, like, they have a lot of outs, like Dylan mentioned, but they just don't take any of them. And that's the whole point of the movie. The point of the movie is because they're being manipulated because they're easy targets and they're just, I don't know, really weak-willed. They don't have a lot of conviction. They don't have a lot of confidence. And because of that, they're just really easily overtaken and abused. And like the couple says at the end, they let this all happen. They had a ton of outs. They had a massive amount of opportunities to leave and get themselves out of danger. They had all sorts of evidence that these people were bad news and they should not be interacting with them still. And guess what? They still let it happen. It's their fault in the end. That's the whole fucking point of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's even a combination of like, you know, like generally it's like that you don't want to like say something rude or like acknowledge that something may not be right about the situation you find yourself in. Like, I'm sure we've all found ourselves in situations where it's like something weird is happening, or we have some sort of social interaction that kind of unnerves us a bit, but you know, you kind of just shrug it off like whatever, it's nothing. And this film is like really pushing those sorts of scenarios to the extreme.
Personally, so I don't mind the like sort of plodding pace of it. I think it's actually pretty well paced. I wouldn't say I'm bored at any point.
The comparison with Funny Games is that they're just doing something negative to the audience as an experience. Right. They're not the exact same experience. So Funny Games is boring. This game is frustrating.
Yeah, I was gonna say the number one emotion I feel is frustrating. Before I get into that complaint, one of my complaints is the way they use music in this movie is bad. Like, it's just, like, especially, it wears off, like, maybe not halfway through, but 2/3 through, they get it under control, but before that, like, every fucking scene, no matter of context, is playing, like, generic tension-building music for no fucking reason.
Yeah,
there actually is a reason. Nico, you take this fucking one, I guess.
Okay. I was actually going to agree with Tanner instead. Yeah, I do. I do. I'm not a big fan of it when a movie does just like play the sort of like ominous music over just like a normal scene. Like I do note there are reasons for it in this. I still don't like it particularly though.
And it's way too fucking loud. Why is the music so loud at all times?
I also agree with you guys. I was just going to give the justification behind like the direction they were going for it. That being the whole point of it is that the whole movie is in fact supposed to be like some scary scene. Like you could, overlay the plot of this movie onto like an actual horror film and put like, for example, you could see something as like a really obvious thing the villain's doing in some other horror movie as like what the couple was doing to their kid on the slide, for example. That's a really obvious sign that something's wrong. Hence why there's the creepy, disturbing music playing constantly, because it's supposed to be like a scary scene, but we just don't see it as that because we're not like in the know of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, obviously my massive complaint is that my suspension of disbelief is just completely broken by how passive our characters are. I can accept it up until the father sees the fucking kid's body in the pool and gets his family out of there. Every decision they make after that continues to put them in danger, I just cannot justify, no matter how pathetic or cowardly or, unoffensive you are. After you have seen a dead child's body, I just do not believe you are going to continue to put yourself in these kinds of situations.
Yeah, no, him leaving the car and just letting his family be unattended is fucking crazy. I think at a minimum, he should have told them that they're bad news, but he just doesn't say anything. He just lets it happen. It's really fucking stupid. And there was something else I was trying to think of, and I just completely fucking blanked on it. I hope it comes back to me.
Yeah, and it just does the classic horror movie thing where, like, if you're a bad writer, you have to have characters that are that are dumber, or at the very... Or also, let me reverse it, actually. That are more cowardly, or at the very least dumber than any person ever would be. I find it hard to believe that there are very many reasonable people that, when put in this situation, would not realize that my only chance at life is to attack them.
All right, I'm gonna go on my rant now since you guys broke it down so very much.
I'm related with the dad quite a bit. I don't think I'd make it out of this one.
Dude, I don't think I would either. I think I'd get lost in the great filter that these people are putting folks through.
See, because sorry, I'm interrupting you still, but Nico mentioned, like, oh, dude, it's like, I'm sure you guys have been in an awkward social situation, and I say things. I can think of numerous times in, like, restaurants and stuff where, like, something weird will happen, and I'll go, what the fuck was that you just said? So, like... Yeah, this is me projecting myself into a movie and being like, oh, I wouldn't act like that, but I don't think that's entirely unreasonable for me to do, being as I'm a human being, Anyway,
I mean, like, most people do have these sorts of, like, deep-seated fears of offending others, though, Tanner. Like, you may not have those, but a lot of people do fear, like, coming off as rude or ungrateful or, like, potentially humiliating another person, especially if it's someone who they don't know particularly well. So they will just kind of grit their teeth and brush it off. And, like, as we do see in this movie, like, this obviously doesn't excuse the part where, like, they see the dead body and stuff like that. But when they do eventually, like, bring up all these concerns that they've been having, they, the fucking other I don't remember their fucking names, but they do explain their side of things, like, make them sound a little more rational and all that. And it's like, well, maybe
I'm the weirdo.
Yeah.
Oh, I fucking remembered it. Dylan's never gonna get a talk. Get fucked, loser. So we've got the scene where the wife is in the shower and the fucking random other dude comes in when she's showering. That's very awkward. It's very uncomfortable. And guess what she does the second she gets back from the shower? She fucks her husband. The guy sees them fucking, and they ignore their child crying. Huh? That shit is very strange. I don't know what the fuck they were doing at the decision. I can only imagine, like, let's ignore the fact that this could be like, oh my gosh, her being walked in on showering, like, stimulated her or something.
That's what I got from it.
It really just seems like they're just trying to look for an excuse for the couple to actually have like a legitimate thing to fight back on. Because a lot of their complaints towards the couple are super valid, and then guess what puts them on the defensive? The second the couple says, oh yeah, she was crying, why didn't you come see her? Of course she went in bed with us, she was crying, she was scared, and you ignored her. That's a legitimate, valid criticism of them. They did ignore their child in that moment. But why did they? Because of the bad writing. I don't like it.
Okay, Dylan.
Let's go on, Dylan.
All right, cool. Thank you for the introduction. I felt like I needed it at this point. Anyway, regardless of your explanation of this movie is intentionally supposed to frustrate us, which, if it was built in the writing that it was supposed to frustrate us, fine. Fair game. I'm surprised Tanner's stop-loss was the kid's body in the pool, because I don't care who you are, I feel like any parent of any age, when you have a couple that reverses their personality and they're whatever, you met them, they were really nice people, and then you're with them at their house and they're not nice people, they're parenting your child, they're making you do things that are uncomfortable or things they're very aware of, like the fact that she brought up she's a vegetarian, she doesn't eat meat, and he's like, oh, that's really good, we can learn something from you, and then immediately doesn't care. They continue to not care about their emotional or mental well-being. Like, for me, what flips the switch is, like, especially, to be honest, what probably would have been the last straw for me personally. I guess that's a terrible way to say it, because this goes back to how I would have reacted. When the kids were doing the dance routine, and the dad fucking loses his shit on his own kid, that would have been like, you know what? I don't like the way you're talking to us. I don't like the way you're talking to my daughter. I don't like the way that you're trying to parent my own daughter. I don't like how you guys are acting completely opposite from how we just met you. That's kind of weird. Let's just leave. And I thought it was an extreme convenience. And obviously built into the story. I don't know what would have made the daughter do this. This was the extremely fucked up part that made zero sense. I actually probably gonna rate this movie lower now that I'm talking about it out loud. Why the fuck did she say she forgot her rabbit? Just for them to go back to the house for no reason. It's not like she wanted to see the parents or see the kid. She just thought it would be a funny prank.
I think she legitimately just thought she left it there.
That's not the vibe that I got. The way that they played it off in that scene, the way they played it off in that scene did not come across that way to me. Regardless,
how do you figure?
Just the way that she reacted, it just didn't seem like, oh hey, it was more like, oh haha, it was underneath the seat. That's how it. Anyway, regardless, my main point here is any normal human being, upon meeting somebody, if they're completely opposite of how they were when you met them, like, concerningly different, that, like, especially, they knew this couple for maybe a week, and they're in their house in the middle of nowhere. What's your reason for saying? I get you could be, like, low confidence, I get you could be, like, they could justify or whatever, but I don't know, there's too many red flags beyond normal human stupidity.
I mean, that's the thing, though. They tried to leave the first part. I don't like the stupid, let's go back because we forgot the bunny thing. I think they could have found a more clever way of having them go back in the first place.
I will actually say, I think that in the remake, they do find a better way to do that. I haven't watched it yet, but that's something I have heard.
Yeah, maybe they get confronted as they're leaving or something, and then the scene plays out, because them going back the first time is stupid as fuck. They literally should have just left the rabbit. Like, they legitimately just seemed like dangerous people. They should have not even had the opportunity of being convinced. I think that part is really fucking stupid too. Obviously, it's supposed to frustrate you, but like legitimately, it is just like a total just like writing decision. They chose to do that because they just couldn't find a way of having that situation play out normally, I guess. And it was super forced feeling, and left a bad taste in my mouth.
I guess like one way you could view it is that, like, you know, the dad is someone who's as we discussed, very, very low confidence and all that stuff. But one of the things that did happen very early on in the movie, the girl does also lose the rabbit. He gets it. He comes back and, like, you know, gives it to his daughter, and the dude says, "You're a hero for doing that," and stuff like that. You know, it's something that could potentially build his self-esteem around that sort of thing. And so in that moment, he could have been thinking, no, this is like what I'm supposed to do. I have to like go get it. So potentially that sort of thing, but
But that doesn't excuse the fact they were put in that position in the first place is a big thing. I don't care about his reasoning to go back. I understand that. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I think the reason they have to go back in the first place is dumb.
Yeah, I mean, even the wife from very early on was like, I don't want to be here. These people are weird. It's very uncomfortable being here. And it's just like, I don't know. They've even, like, as a couple, they stated they were uncomfortable being there. So, I don't think it takes a ton of confidence to know if you've just met these people, you're super uncomfortable. It is completely 100% human logical nature to not be there. I don't care how much you feel like you're gonna hurt their feelings. You just met them. They're acting completely different. If you hurt their feelings, who cares? Again, this is how I would react, but I don't know.
Yeah. This movie has set me off this week on, like, really remembering just how much I hate Europeans.
Bummer.
Does this movie potentially have, like, one of the top cruelest ways that we've witnessed people dying in movies?
Stoning is
so.
up there.
Yeah, I'd
Guys,
say
we
so.
literally watched a guy getting cased in wax and then fall down and die in a pit of molten wax in a collapsed building.
I'm surprised you went with that and not the Terrifier Magic Saw act.
Dude, she was having fun.
Jesus.
I don't know about that one.
She probably died from shock pretty quickly.
True.
Also, we haven't seen too many movies with this level of violence against children. Don't bring up a Serbian film. Don't do that. But, you know,
That still counts.
seeing that girl's, like, tongue get cut off is pretty brutal.
That was rough to watch. I was extremely
Yeah, I was
squeamish.
real
Good
squeamish
God.
during that one. I was hugging my pillow real tight.
You know what? This is an effective horror movie.
She didn't react quite as violently as I would have imagined. I can only imagine that getting your tongue cut off is probably one of the most painful things you could ever experience.
Is there much pain sensors in the tongue?
Have you ever bitten your tongue before, Tanner?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, and
It's not that painful.
I find that shit painful as fuck. I hate
yeah, it's
that shit.
painful
There's
as hell,
plenty of-
dude. I don't know what the fuck you're
I find it
going
way
on.
more painful when I, like, bite my cheek.
Okay.
Anyway, now are we ready to rank it?
I guess so.
Dude, I guess Dylan, kick it off.
Man, I lowered the rating on this movie a couple of notches. Yeah, I gave Speak No Evil... Yeah, fuck it. I gave it a C-.
Whoa.
Zam. Dude, I'm giving this film a B.
Huh.
Okay.
I gave it a D+.
Oh, there we go.
Jesus.
That's more my avenue.
Oh my god.
I did.
What do you mean, oh my god? This movie's awful.
That's a horrific rating. Fuck
The
you,
plot
Tanner.
makes no sense, dude.
It's a good rating. You're out of your mind by putting this in B.
Jackson, where'd you rate it?
I gave it a C+. I like the
There we
acting.
go.
I think a lot of the presentation of the film is pretty well done. We really didn't talk about a lot of plot with this movie. Most of you were just shitting on various plot points. But one of the things I actually watched, and I also, of course, watched a lot of reviews of this movie because I think it's interesting. I just like the idea behind this movie. I think is cool in the same way that Funny Games does it, except I think Funny Games is just much more well executed. Like in one instance, like with a lot of the shots and like some of the earlier scenes kind of look like from the perspective of like a guy stalking the husband or something, for example, when he's trying to find the bear. There's a lot of just like really clever cinematography tricks they do in this movie, which I think is cool. Like from a production standpoint, I think this movie is quite well done. Outside of like the weird fucking stupid music play going on, I think they could have done that better. But yeah, it's very well acted. I think there's some issues with the plot, obviously. But yeah, C+. There's a lot that kind of like pluses and minuses it.
What does that land at?
C.
Whoa.
Wow.
Flat C. As I said, I thought this was going to be quite the divisive movie, and it was. Who knew?
I mean, kind of. You're still closer to mine and Tanner's ratings than Nico's, to be fair.
That has nothing to do with it, though.
I don't know.
It has nothing to do with like where Jackson falls. It's just like our general ratings.
I'm literally in the middle of you guys. I'm 2 away from Nico and 2 away from you.
Listen, dude, I'm coping. Get over it.
Facts. But yeah, C, pretty funny. That's a funny rank for this movie.